Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. All right. It says it's playing now. Mic check, mic check. But we'll see. What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? All right, YouTube. All right. All right. What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? Let me turn my camera on. And then yeah, we like that. We like that. Let me take some notes real quick and then we'll get started. We're going to talk about legal research tonight. Let me get some stuff right. Cool. That, close that. And then let me go there. Yes, actually, that'd be perfect. And then let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go here. There we go. That'll help me. That'll help me. Okay. Yep. Perfect. All right. Let me take some notes and then we'll get started. If y'all want to share this, that would be great. Let me take some notes. Oh, let me pull up YouTube's comments. Not that it helps, but maybe. Let's see. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Let me say one is flash drive, notepads, and Google Docs. Then we got dictionaries. Then we have let's see. What's up, everybody? What's up? Cases, Constitution, state, con, fed, con. What's up, everybody? What's up? Finna get started. Commentaries. There we go. Commentaries. Oh, I forgot I did this. Okay, what's up, everybody? I think I'm let's see what comes along. Trying to think, is there anything tonight? We're going to talk about legal research. Legal research. Any questions before we start? Let me see. Nobody's on YouTube. They really don't show my stuff to nobody no more, y'all. I used to see if I can pay. Sometimes you gotta pay to play. Let's see. Let's see. How do you promote settings? Hear your voice, live recordings. No, I don't know. Um, I don't know how to do it. Live gifts. I don't think that's a thing. Um, it used to be. Oh, I'm sure you can. I just don't know how to do it. But you could be. Like just pay to for the exposure. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Content disclosure. Nope. I would love to do a mock on how to speak my speech federal court. Uh, I don't know what that means, but I'm assuming you just want to prepare for what you're going to say. The best thing to do it is just to go to know what you're talking about and then rehearse what you're talking about in front of a mirror, family members or friends that can help you at least understand your talking points. Then um, then do that. Otherwise, you're gonna have to practice your speech or practice your arguments, whatever you're trying to do to yourself. That's what I do. I don't be in court though, so but all these concepts that I explain, I rehearse myself before I get on a camera. Uh, That would be that would be my advice as far as um, how to practice. Just rehearse what you're gonna say. This is what I do. This is all practice because I'm gonna have to explain this stuff to a jury one day. You know what I mean? So I'm training myself to talk for 2 hours a day, almost every day that I'm on here. So practice makes perfect. All right, tonight's topic is legal research. Nope, let me start. Ooh, let's do that's perfect. 800. All right, what's up, everybody? All right, tonight's topic is going to be legal research. I was talking to myself waiting on the bus about how to tell somebody how to do legal research. And these are the things that I came up with. And I'm not saying anything brand new. This is the stuff that I do every single day that I have free time. So this is what I do. This is how I live when I am not actually working. So first thing that we need to learn and comprehend that you need to be organized, you need to be prepared. Preparedness is the number one thing. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Because people come on any one of these platforms that I may be on, and they always want to make their emergency your problem. And I'm like, nope. Or I tell them to do something and they're not in a position or prepared to do it, and they're not ready to do it. That's later. All right. And so preparedness is very important. How do you get prepared? What does preparedness look like? First of all, because you may be interested in legal topics, you should always be in a position to learn something that you never have before. It's our responsibility to know and learn the law. It's our responsibility. We don't have a choice. Now, other people choose not to do it. Well, everybody chooses not to do it, but uh, we really don't have a. We never want to be in a position like we are today in society, where we the only people who can know the law are bar members. And that's the society they want. They want total and complete ignorance so that the only thing you do is rely on them, and then they railroad, they backdoor you, take away your rights, they ignore the things that are important in favor over what makes them more lucrative. Because to them, it's not they don't care about people, they care about making money. 'Cause if they care, then they would be the ones teaching this, and I shouldn't have to be the guy teaching this. I say this all the time. Like, um, if you have to learn the common law of England from me, we're all in trouble. You have to learn the United States Constitution from me, we're in trouble. If you have to learn what law is from me, a guy on TikTok and YouTube or wherever, then we're in serious trouble because it was not my responsibility to teach the law or know the law. I mean, but it was always been my responsibility to know the law, but to share it, first of all, so it's our responsibility, right? And so when there is less ignorance, then we are less susceptible to being fooled, to being disregarded, to being ignored. And we learn to raise the right issues because we are prepared, right? So how are we prepared? The first thing, as far as learning the law, I don't want to call this legal research. There's no such thing as legal research. There is no learning the law when there is ignorance. That's it. Because legal doesn't equate to law. So, um, as the most important thing is in an information age, in a world where everything is streaming or everything is, I don't know how to say the word, but today or this morning or last night sometime, I seen a dude get on the internet and say, "I used to work at this company." I think I don't know if it was a record label or like a blog or something, and he got let go or he quit or whatever, and then a couple years later, that well, this was recently that the company that he worked for erased all of the work. So he said, "It's very important that you learn to archive the things that you did. You was speaking from a creator standpoint, but even more so as we learn these things, we have to be able to prove these things. And so it's very important that we learn to save, store, archive, whatever that looks like. And so the first thing you need to have are flash drives. Flash drives. I have mine in my backpack. I should have got it. But yeah, there's also a thing called a solid state drive. A solid state drive is like a big, it's not that much bigger, but it's a big flash drive, essentially. So I keep everything on, it is a type of external hard drive. An external hard drive would be what they call a HDD. SSD is it's more solid. So you could drop it, you shouldn't drop it, but you could drop it. It's got a little more impact protection, and it's not based on a disk. An external hard drive has an actual disk on the inside of it. It looks like a block, but it's an actual disk. A solid state drive is just two little sticks that store all the. Just think of it like um, a SD card versus an actual disk. Uh, so a flash drive or a solid state drive would be very important for storing things offline. Yes, 1 terabyte should be plenty. I have a 2 terabyte one because I got it on sale, so the more the merrier. But, as I'm getting ready to go over, as it relates to documents don't take up a lot of space. We're gonna go into dictionaries here in a few minutes, and the biggest dictionary that I think I have may be 2,000 pages, and it doesn't take up that much space. So documents and audio doesn't take up as much space as you think. Um, and so you could have, I mean, I got an insane amount of documents, and they don't take up much. So documents are very, so 1 terabyte would be plenty. If you could find a 1 terabyte flash drive, that would be cool. But a 1 terabyte um, solid state drive, I have one from Samsung. I think Samsung has like one that I wish I should got it, but it's got like a little rubber protection around it. So if you drop it, it's not gonna crack as easily. And so that's where I should back them up more often, but I back up at least once every 2 or 3 months. So I have my computer, um, and it's got, because I download stuff on there every day, but then I back up every couple months, everything that I got onto the solid state drive or the SSD. So, so a flash drive or a solid state drive. That's preparedness. Also, notepads. I got legal pads stacked up. I got little legal pads. I have big legal pads because as you learn stuff, you need to learn how to take notes. Taking notes is crazy. It's the greatest thing ever. Is taking notes. Stuff online is not gonna work. I tell that all the time. They gonna figure it out. None of this stuff's none of it. They gonna figure it out. They working on it. They getting this AI stuff going, and then one day when everything can be erased. They probably can do that already. Just I there was a dude, I thought about this one time. There was a dude, I think he's in England. He makes notebooks in England or something like that. And I think it was last year or a couple years ago, the airline's computer systems went down. And the airline computer systems went down and nobody could leave, nobody could fly, nobody could do anything. He said a couple days before, like maybe the last week, he tried to use cash in England, and they said, "No, we don't do cash, yada, yada, yada." And then, Microsoft did a big outage, blackout somewhere, like across the planet, I think, half the planet, and, nobody could fly. Nobody could fly anywhere in America or anywhere else because the blackout had happened or whatever. And then literally during the couple days blackout, they they were begging for his cash the next day. He's like, "Oh, I thought y'all didn't want my cat." He's like, "No, we make an exception." Yeah, because that's what they want the cat and and all this stuff don't work, you're gonna need some pieces of paper, right? And so this dude made notepads, and he said, "It's very important that you learn to take notes." He said, "Taking notes is so an odd thing now, that in England, he was sitting in a park taking notes, and the cops came up to him and was wondering what he was doing, because if you're not on your phone all day, you're not, being, hypnotized by all of the deception, then some dude who may be trying to remember something or just just understand something, make it twice. Okay, well, now that's a crazy thing now. So, taking notes, having notepads, especially after you read and verify stuff, just summarizing what you learned. It's that simple. Summarizing what you learned. Okay, what does that word mean? Okay, bet. It means this. That's what I learned. You may never look at it again, but writing it, saying it, seeing it, all of those helps memory, so that when you're in front of people, you don't have to constantly, "Oh, where did I put that? Oh, I know I got it. I know I got it." Because if you do end up in court, they don't wanna hear none of that, "Oh, I got it right over here." You have to cite it, you have to prove it. They want you to be prepared to defend yourself, right? Or, to make complaints or whatever. So, notepads, flash drives, also, I would get in the habit of tell people Patreon to open a Google document, uh, learn Google Docs, and learn to compile information. Like, for instance, on Patreon, I have 1,000,000 cases on there. Okay, well, if those cases are coming to you or to your state, to learn to copy and paste and compile that information. Have a doc called Colorado. The case that I find or that you find, okay, well, the Colorado thing, take that to Kinko's or FedEx or whatever, and they'll create a little booklet for you. And that to be organized. Okay, when somebody says something stupid, nope, I got that right here. You're not allowed to do that, right? Colorado, right? So all of this in the of preparedness. You This is preparedness. This is organization. Learning to compile information. Learning to just be organized and have the information, right? Because the internet's not your friend. All this stuff will be gone one day. It won't mean anything. You cannot do it, right? All right. Next. So this is the beginning of the legal research. So once you're prepared, receive information. Now you can start receiving information. The number one thing I do in my free time, law dictionaries. It's read law dictionaries. I got 1,000,000 books. I read those books. More than I read those books, I read those law dictionaries. Law dictionaries have been I don't even know the first law dictionary I got. The first law dictionary I got was not I think everybody found that one. Uh, somebody, like, copied and pasted the law dictionary one time, and then that's the law dictionary every uh, I think it was, like, Black's Law or something like that. Everybody has that dictionary now. But the number one thing is read law dictionaries all day, not working. That's all I do. I don't know what that word means. Okay, so, people ask me all the time, "What's the best law dictionary?" There's no such thing as the best law dictionaries are, um, they're evidence of history. That's what it is. So, I got law dictionaries from the 1700s, 1708, 1706, 1708 all the way to 2014. Law dictionaries. Somebody say law dictionaries. The most you can do is rightly define a word. Define word correctly. If you are in the courts and a cop hands you a citation has code or a statute, you're gonna go look up that statute, go to the law dictionary, verify every word, every operative in the dictionary. You're on the Patreon, you know, I don't even know no more. I think it's 27, 26 I have for download on there, and I verify everything. If I there's some things, okay, I'm particularly in some things just like, I wonder what that means. And sometimes I'll go through all the dictionaries and try to find that same word from 1708 all the way to 2014. I know what that word means. And then sometimes if I feel that word is necessary, then I'll go to the Google Docs and I'll copy and paste and organize that information in a way that's legible for me to understand. Right? So law dictionaries are incredibly important. The older law dictionaries, so I divide history to two parts. We got before the Civil War and after the Civil War, right? So before the Civil War, as close as you can get to the date of the Constitution, which would be in 1787, so either right before or right after the Constitution is what I look for, especially if I'm trying to define a phrase that is exclusively in the Constitution, the United States Constitution, or if you're in one of the original states, then I'm gonna look up words that are as close as possible to the date of that original state constitution. And then, um, I will define things based after the Civil War, right? So after the Civil War is where a lot of legislation, false or true legislation has been introduced. And the thing about the new dictionaries is people say, well, what's the best dictionary? There's no best dictionary. They're all just pictures of history. So, for instance, if you hypothetically get a traffic citation, okay, but you need to find out when that statute was first implemented. Mainly, this pertains to federal statutes, but you need to find out when the statute was implemented. Then you'll go to the dictionary that came after that piece of legislation came out because they're gonna ask if that word's not already defined or if there's a new way of defining it, uh, or they added to the definition of a word. Okay, well, you won't know that until the next edition of the dictionary. So, for instance, I guess the Black's Law Dictionary would be the modern dictionaries that are out. Okay, so say these came out, but okay, so let's say the Social Security Act. Okay, well, I want the dictionary that came out after the Social Security Act. That way, I don't know if Social Security is in the dictionary, but this is hypothetical. Going to that word, I need that dictionary that came out afterwards. Does that make sense? So after the word has come out, as far as it relates to legislation, as far as it relates to constitution, you need the older dictionary because law's not new. Okay, so older dictionaries before the Civil War are not going to have cases as their citations. For those who may have never seen a law dictionary, you're gonna get to a law dictionary and add a word, they're gonna tell you where they get their information. Constitution, for example, okay? Well, oh, I do this all the time. A Republican form of government, okay? Uh, a Republican form of government or a Republican government is in the United States Constitution, right? Okay. That phrase, and you find that in the law dictionary, and they're gonna give you I haven't chased every rendition or every definition of multiple dictionaries, but I wanna say it's Black's Law 4th or 6th, that's one of the ones I read for new stuff, and they give you Supreme Court citations, okay? So Supreme Court citations would be for the newer dictionaries that have come after the Civil War, okay? Because there's been enough history of Supreme Court cases that they now have a case explaining what that word means. Versus before the Civil War, they will just have law books explaining what. So I love the old dictionaries because they give you a Supreme Court case. They may give you an English case because I got a Supreme Court case that says at the beginning of the country there were no Supreme Court cases that they were starting the country. So they only referenced English cases. That's all they knew, right? And so the older dictionaries will either have primarily they'll just have law books on. So if you wanna learn about commerce or merchant law or the law merchant, okay, well, they'll give you you look up that word, they'll give you a definition, and then they'll give you citations of law books that will go deeper into the meaning of that term versus newer dictionaries will give you a Supreme Court case. Not always a Supreme Court case, but mainly state or federal Supreme Court case explaining that topic. And in these newer dictionaries, when you find these cases, they'll cite law books in cases. So you can go find that's a lot of times how I find a book is a Supreme Court case will have Supreme Court cases. Right. Case law. All right. And so the Supreme Court cases will have law books that the judges and the magistrates are sometimes you can find them, sometimes you can. If there are older books that they're citing, there's a good chance you'll find it. The newer, especially state books are hard to find because they can't keep. I tell you all the time, the state Supreme Court cases and the state info is more. Um, they tell more information than the feds do. So when you go, like one time, I know about Alabama evidence book, unless you're an attorney, you will not find it unless you're willing to drop some bread. They don't have it for sale. They ain't never had it for sale. They publish that and give it straight to whatever state, and you probably never see it. Even the old books, I'm like, this book is nowhere. That book is nowhere. Like Louisiana law books all the time. And then we all know books. They don't tell you what you want to know. So it's the older information. It's not new. So you have to find the older stuff. But as far as dictionaries, the ones before the Civil War are gonna give you book citations where other writers, either from England or America, depending on the citation, will give you law books to further study the topic. Okay? So just as an example, okay, first I started looking up passports. Okay, well, they don't have no books. Why? Because passport is not like major topic to these people. So if you wanna learn you're gonna have to learn insurance, and uh, well, all insurance is insurance. You'll learn that. There's no such thing as time and regular insurance. There's no such thing as regular insurance. Insurance is a maritime. Like I didn't know that. Like they lie. They say, "Oh, well, they only do admiralty on," because if we got insurance or health insurance, well, that's all related. It's all admiralty. It's all marine. Apply it to people. They're only supposed to they are only applying it to the fiction, which are supposed to be related to actual. You'll get these dictionaries, you'll start getting the picture real quick. Okay, well, none of this thing a passport is for no books on passports. There are books on insurance. I'll have a chapter, a specific type of insurance in order to Take this insurance for a passport. Then they'll explain what it doesn't do. You'll learn all that dictionaries. Law, like, reiterate, law dictionary more time than any dictionaries. They'll give you a citation of the book. Hopefully, you can find it for free. The hardest thing about the law citation is hard to find them citation. I found a citation. That citation was 3 little abbreviations. Finally, and the book was 26 words. The name of that book was 26 words. I said, "Man, this is some big." If we didn't have Google, you would never find it, y'all. Sometimes you still can't find it on Google. Like, try to of the dude's last name, and it don't be they don't give you nothing. Now, some of these guys, they do give you they have an abbreviation page, but they don't tell you it's gonna so you still have to try to figure out the dude's whole name and the actual year and all this information to try to find those books to further dig deep into the situation, right? So just consider that when you get the dictionary. All right, but the new dictionary, they will use state and federal Supreme cases. They'll use circuit case or whatever if it needs that. But you'll have state Supreme Court cases and federal Supreme Court cases. The newer citations of words have a word in the definition. If it's a if it's a significant word, multiple paragraphs and sentences, and they'll give you the citation of where they got that from. I will know you want to buy the book. Do you think Harvard has all those books? Maybe. Uh, I don't know. I don't know who has those books. I mean, most of the books that I found have been online or okay, so for instance, I got this book called The Law of Names. The Law of Names was is an English book that it's apparently the only legal treatise on names, significance of names, the law of names, right? And so, well, the only they may have been in other places, but the nearest one in the South at Tulane University. So I went to it's in New Orleans. I went in there and I went it wasn't that long, probably last fall. Took a picture. I took a picture of each that book because you can't buy that. That book doesn't exist in so old, and I'm not physically taking the book out. And so I took a picture of each page of the book. And so, uh, so it just depends. I maybe the Library of Congress has those books, but it's the and you can't just sit in there and just take pictures of the books all day. With a nice vest, put a vest on is gonna escort you out of there. So, uh, I don't know where you probably won't unless you're in law schools. Or some of those books, they recreate those books and they don't put the information that you need, so only the judges or the magistrates get that info. So, le eBay, I found a lot of books through eBay. Some old attorneys, some judges retiring, he don't want them books no more. Put 'em up for sale. That's how I got one book, Bill of Particulars. Bill of Particulars. There's only one known book, it's on the Bill of Particulars. They're not digitized. There are probably plenty of so I bought that book, sent it, and now I am that has digitized that multiple people. So, uh, so yeah, that would be somebody cited, I believe somebody cited that book dictionary, and you try to go on eBay, try to $400. You know, what the average person trying to be able to get it. And so, thankfully, I'm the average person who can't afford it, and so and then I so now, hypothetically, if you're the patron, you're one of the only people in America out of a law school that was written by a New York Supreme Court clerk, and it's apparently the only legal treatise on a bill of particulars. And so if you wanna learn about a bill of particulars, they got that. Alright, so this is all in the same stuff. So old dictionaries will give you the law book as the citation because they didn't have cases to refer to, and then new law dictionaries will primarily have a case that refers to verify that the definition is true. So, and I hear attorneys say this, and they're not wrong. The law dictionary is not the law. People cite it, even they cite it in, but that's not, you got to be able to cite the citation that you get, right? That guy who created that team of editors that created that law dictionary, they're not the sole explanation of information, and then that dictionary is not the sole explanation of a term. For every one word that's in that dictionary, there are a million, and that this is how deception creeps in because those words are so deep, and we don't even know the words we use, right? So that stuff is very important. So dictionaries, that's the number one thing I do. I verify, I cross-reference, I verify the citations. That's the number one thing I do as far as it relates to law dictionaries. Books, law books. So I guess this is you're gonna use your preparedness, your organization to find, to compile very important. In the age of ignorance, you could be the smartest dude in your state, smartest lady in your, so flash drive, notepads, Google Docs. Flash drives, notepads, Google Docs. Google Docs, you learn to compile information, you learn to organize information, just like I do on Patreon. Okay, well, we got one topic called maritime, and every time I find a case, every time I find a book, okay, well, I attribute or connect it to doing that on Google, doing that on Google Docs. I feel like I have enough information. For example, I the books, okay, my baby. So this is about sports. Why? Because I verified all. I did all the. This is my homework. This is my book. I look everywhere. Every new state I'm in, if I leave into it, this book comes. All of this is my work. This is my research. This is my. I heard all this stuff, and as a result, mention right, and those who look, you share in that research, right? So one there may not be access to whatever they call it. So I gotta have all this. I need this information. This information. I got to read this stuff in front of a jury. This is my. This is the result of my homework. Once I have enough information, I put it in. Now I know whatever, but you're no different. Uh, you can take something the king create a little. I don't know what you call it, a little notebook thing. They'll get. thing, give you some little binder. You can make yourself a little notebook and you can have the little right? And a bunch of stuff. I'll get into this later, but you learn pleadings, you learn to do legal writing and okay, got patient verify that what you're saying is the truth, right? Nope. Supreme Court said it in 41 page one. Okay. So all right. So this is so doing practicing what I preach, right? This is let's see. This one court got commercial law. Okay. That's not commercial law. This is this is land patent cases. So these are land patent cases. This is over, I don't think it's 300, but it's a lot of cases state earning land patents. And not all these cases they won. Some of them they lost, and you need to learn why they lost, right? As a result of my homework. I said, nope, I'm gonna need this offline one day, right? So I got all this information. We got this book. Got another one. This is a biblical view of commercial law. Okay, well, I want to know what commercial law look like. Stuff, every piece of information I find, I compile the Google document information, and you can do the same. It'll look like this. It can look like a little note. You know what I mean? Uh, Here, that's the word I'm looking. So I got one more thus far. All right, this is my new one. Right here. Verified all the information. They call it column on this one. You got stuff because they're gonna try you, and you got. So they said California Supreme Court. You know what I mean? Like you got this is all organization for you to have verified. These people, these scammers, don't just yapping. Don't have no evidence on nothing. So highly organized is very important. So verifying information because you don't know that dictionary telling you that up. But if you don't go to review the site, you won't. So law dictionary, books, and cases. What's the question? Question. Yeah, the significant thing about uh, dictionaries is they don't come up with the information. They always get that information definition law book from before that year came out, right? Always going back into the law. They have a new way of implementing it, but what they call law, not new. Like I said, are the law. That's it. They've never repealed those original state constitutions. They can't. They say all the time, "Oh well, uh, during the Civil War, the states union they started a confederacy, and they after the Civil War they got re-granted state." Okay, well, none of that. It's not possible for them to that. Before the Civil War, they had the right to arms against foreign invasion. Constitution has never given the feds permission to be, especially over things that were already in the Constitution and that were already constitutional. So, Texas, South Carolina have the right to bear arms, and they have the right to protect themselves from invaders. And so that's it's the Union. They were the original 13 states were called and are a confederate. They weren't doing anything new. They were doing what the Constitution said they could do, right? And so you know what I mean? So I've heard that, but yeah. So do I take free or automatically citizen? There's no such thing as a citizen since the Civil War. The 10th Amendment says whatever has not been given to the feds or to the states is left to the people. Okay? There's no such thing as state governments. In this lifetime, you've never had a state government. You're under foreign occupation. See, if you got one of the law dictionaries, you need to look up the word fiction. Okay, fictions are not real. You don't even need a dictionary to know that. They're not real. All right. You can be as free as you want to be. You can be as free as you have the ability to take out the system. So the question of freedom is, okay, well, can I live without the system? You start studying the word commerce in the dictionary. You're gonna lead back to the word merchant. Go to the word merchant. It's gonna lead you all the way back to this. Okay, you're gonna lead you all the way back to a land called Canaan, and these people called Canaanites. Okay, so you're gonna learn commerce is a body of private law, not American. It's not English. It didn't come out yesterday. And so whenever you admit that you cannot live without commerce, you threaten by virtue of ourselves, by virtue of, oh, well, they call me a United States citizen. First of all, none of that is admissible. They don't bring you into court over citizenship. They bring you into court based on where you reside. All the scammers, all the feds on the internet saying, "Oh, well, really, you're a dual citizen." 14 and they made us all do it. No, they didn't make us nothing. They can't. They don't have no power to do that. Federal Constitution is talking to federal things. So if it never applied before there was such thing as a 14th Amendment, then it wouldn't apply to the states such thing as a 14th Amendment. Like with the 16th Amendment. Right? This is what happens when the Constitution's next. This is what happens when we don't read the Constitution and we don't define the words correctly in the Constitution. So what happened at the Civil War? The Civil War, they took over the state governments and they never left. Okay. So that's we're under foreign occupation, but that don't make anything that they do lawful. People don't know their history and don't know their heritage and don't know the law. Okay, well, this is what we're left. You have to learn the freaking common law of England from some black dude on Twitter or on TikTok or whatever. Okay, well, then we're in trouble. So, all right, constitutions. Um, especially as it relates to dictionaries. Dictionaries are probably the most important, and then the dictionaries are the most important things you need to look up, especially if you're on the Patreon. You need to um, define the words in the Constitution. Define the words in the Constitution. I read it all the time. The United States Constitution and your state and federal constitution interpret without reference to the Constitution, without reference to the common law of England. You understood? Okay. Well, how do you know that? Because you would have to define the words in the Constitution or the phrases in the Constitution and go find the significance of those phrases in the common law. Does that make sense? So, especially these Bill of Rights. I read this today. Found this. Let's see. Let's see. The Supreme Court of It wasn't Georgia. It was Michigan. The Supreme Court of Michigan said the truth is the Bill of Rights in the American constitutions have not been drafted for the introduction of new law. I keep telling y'all there's no such thing as new law, but to secure old principles. They said the Bill of Rights, American constitutions, what American constitutions? The Michigan Constitution have not been drafted for the introduction of new law, but to secure old principles. They assume that the existing principles of the common law are ample for the protection of individual rights. Right. So when you go to your state constitution and you go to your state, what they call Declaration of Rights, Bill of Rights, then you're going to find those phrases in the law dictionary. You're going to take notes of them. You're going to copy, you're going to research, you're going to verify. And then you're going to find those principles and how they did it in the common law of England. Like, for instance, I tell you all the time, okay, a Republican form of government. Well, what's a Republican form of government? All right, a Republican form of government is where the sovereignty is vested in the call that the common law doctrine of sovereign immunity. Okay, well, you got to go study common law sovereign immunity to know what that even means. It means that a sovereign cannot to the courts that it created by way of the Constitution without its consent. People tell me all the time, well, brother, I'm challenge jurisdiction because they recognize my sovereignty. Okay, well, if you were sovereign, you would they wouldn't have been able to create because there's a difference show up on their computer and people who don't show up on their computer. And that would be evidence, right? Huge difference federally than the states. But most of y'all just with state issues. It's a different monster, and I'm not talking about that. But as far as state issues, yeah, you don't get up in there unless you've consented. Not possible. That's another word. Here's some homework. Once you get on Patreon, you download all these law dictionaries, you need to go to the definition of the word presumption. That's a fancy word. It's good and bad. Not good in the sense it's you wanna know what's going on in the world, everybody speaks in everybody speaks in presumptions. Your favorite scammer on TikTok, all everybody speaking in presumptions, and it is but unless you can prove them wrong, that's why I say you gotta be nice. You got to be ready. You gotta keep your head on a swivel. I never hey, brother in Indiana, I tried to tell them about the Common Law of England. Yeah, like they never heard of the Common Law of England. I said, "Well, could you prove them wrong?" And no. I said, "Oh, well, that's what happened." Because what's the law of Indiana? The common law of England. How would you know that? You've been able to cite a Supreme Court case from 2026 that say, no, common law of England says, and dismiss that case because they've been caught in a lie in front of the public. People tell me, yeah, like they don't do admiralty. Okay, well, could you prove them wrong? Because how does admiralty work? Admiralty works in rem and in personam. And no state can confer on its courts by acting in a proceeding in rem. Okay, well, could you prove that they were doing admiralty without talking about the flag and the gold? Could you prove them wrong? No, I couldn't prove them wrong. Okay, well, that's why this stuff is important. You got to be able to say, no, y'all full you're full of stuff because the Supreme Court of whatever state says, and then boom. What happened to all the encyclopedia. What do you mean what happened to them? I don't understand that question. All right, so your state constitution, you need to read it. People say all the time. I got I got the my state's got six versions of the Constitution. You ain't said all of them. If you're more than original 13, you got a lot of homework to do. We got a lot of revisions of that Constitution, don't they? I think we're getting revisions of the Constitution. Yep, you gotta go over all of them. They haven't repealed anything in the original Constitution. Without renaming the state. Not without lying or not without admitting they took over the states. But so your state constitutions are incredibly significant. Um, so your state constitution, you need to go over the Bill of Rights over each revision of your state constitution. And I don't know, I couldn't prove it as fast, but California says this. California, California, California. What encyclopedias are you talking about that have been destroyed? Yeah, Constitution. California. I won't find it in time. California. Never find it in time. Cal- Oh, here we go. 1970s encyclopedia. Um, that's not what I'm talking about. But here we go. Okay, so they said this is exactly what I mean. Let's see here. They said the present this is in the 1800s. This is in the late 1800s. They said the Constitution of California has been substituted. Our present state government is a continuance of that established when the original Constitution was adopted. They said we got new stuff in the Constitution, but we have the same powers the original that's the original Constitution. So they never got rid of there's not a piece of paper that said they did away with the original Constitution. Just like there's no piece of paper that said the states were readmitted into the Union after the Civil War. It doesn't exist. They want you to believe they got all this power. They've never done it. Does that make sense? So the states didn't leave the Union in the Civil War and they created statehood. The Constitution doesn't give the federal government power to do these things. It's not possible, but that's what we're talking about tonight. So, read your state constitutions. Read every revision, every edition of your state constitution. They're incredibly important, especially if you live or were born in one of the original 13 states. You will find stuff in those constitutions that you can verify through these definitions and dictionaries and cases that will explain all of these things. Okay, all of this stuff is in case law. All right. Commentaries. There is a commentary on every topic, on every major. Now, as far as it means learning the law, Um, tabs here. Here we go. All right, we got some commentaries here. Commentaries are explanations of different legal topics. Okay, so the best or most the most amount of information would be Edward Cook commentaries on the laws of England. No, Edward Cook institutes on the laws of. Does that make sense? Edward Cook institutes on the laws of England in four parts. Over six books, but it's in four parts. So it'll be part one, maybe two books. Part two might be one book. Part three might be two books. Part four might be one book. However, it equals to about six books. Edward Cook, Thomas Jefferson said, if you want to learn the law, start with Edward Cook's Institutes on the Laws of England. Those books were written. Edward Cook was a English judge, um, and that dude created the Institutes on the Laws of England in the early 1600s, and they are still cited in state supreme courts today. I read cases all day, and they freaking say, "Yep, Edward Cook said, Lord Cook said, Sir Edward Cook said." Because they remember they can't do nothing new. They don't have no choice but to keep going back to England, see how to do because law's not new, law's old, right? So Edward Cook's Institutes on the Laws of England in four parts. It's four parts, but it's like six books. Okay. Understand that? Edward Cook is spelled Coke, like Coke, but it's pronounced Cook. Um, Next is William Blackstone. William Blackstone would have been the best explanation of common law as far as it relates to modern English. So not Edward Cook, William Blackstone was also an English judge. Edward Cook didn't even like the colonies. He said in his first book, he's got commentaries called Commentaries on the Laws of England. They're in four books. Um, Yep, the first book is on the rights of persons. The second one is on the rights of things. The second one is private wrongs. The fourth one is public wrongs. Each of those books, the first book, he says that the colonies and other territories are not entitled to the common law. The founders and the framers of the Constitution didn't care. When after the Revolutionary War, they did a survey and found out that more Americans bought those books than anybody. He dang near just wrote it for the Americans. Most of the explanation of law found in William Blackstone's commentaries on the laws of England. Now, you can find those books for free. They have updated the English on them. Oxford University has updated those books. They did not update Edward Cook's. They don't want you reading them books. So the latest, I forgot to say this, the latest translation, I wouldn't call them translations, but the latest updates, those books were written in the 1600s. Um, the latest that I like are in the 1830s. They may have came out with a version in the 60s, and you could probably find them for free. But the best reading, which we don't read ancient English, but I'm trying to learn these books. Okay, so 1830s would have been perfect. Or it's solid. And then William Blackstone, Commentary on the Laws of England, they were written in 1760 through 1770. So that was right before the Revolutionary War, and then they updated those. Those came out in like 2009. So those are great books. If you can buy those books physically and read them, that would be perfect. You will William Blackstone explains every major body of law. You wanna learn the law. Remember, when the country started, they didn't have no law schools, y'all. There was no law schools when the country started. There was no bar association. If you wanted to learn the law and you wanted to be a lawyer back in the day, they would these books. They would give you a stack of Edward Cook's, they would give you a stack of William Blackstone, and then they would give you a stack of English cases pertaining to particular topics or a particular time frame. And you would have to read and write reports on those. That was it. You had to study under somebody. There was no law schools. You understand that? So this is perfect for somebody who is through and fed up with ignorance, and you wanna learn the law. Okay, well, they're not teaching the law in law schools today. They're teaching commerce. First of all, again, we don't know what the word school means. The word school is what? It is a ship for merchant training. It's a vessel for seamanship. Okay? They didn't have none of that when the country started. They got a stack of books and said, "Get to it. You got to read, you got to write." So, this is all important information. You wanna know the ancient principles about a something? William Blackstone's gonna explain. You wanna know what admiralty, what equity, commercial law is? You wanna know all that stuff? William Blackstone's gonna teach you. He was a judge. These aren't nobodies. These were giants in their day. The fact that even like the colonists bought his books, pretty significant. They said, "Yo, we don't care. We need those books." And then when they got their own country, they implemented those principles because that helped them understand the law, right? All right. So that's Edward Cook, William Blackstone, and the next one is James Kent. James Kent was the first American judge to write commentaries on American law. So you can find these. These are um, James Kent commentaries on the laws of England. That's literally they are in 4 books as well. And they got later renditions, I couldn't find those, but the earliest renditions or editions were 1826, I think. 1826, 1828. Good solid English in there, right? Um, now, Louisiana, we're not gonna leave you behind. Louisiana, if you were born or live in Louisiana, and you don't plan on leaving Louisiana, we got this thing called the Roman Code. All right. So for those who know, Louisiana was not founded on the common law of England like the other 49 states. Now, as far as it relates to criminal law, what they call a crime is supposed to be governed by the common law of England because they can't go beyond the boundaries of the federal constitution. But if you plan on living in Louisiana and staying there and having kids there, okay, you're going to want to learn the Roman law. The Roman law is essentially what they call the Justinian Digest or the Code of Justinian. Justinian was a Roman emperor, and in his day, all the territories that he conquered, he would send out what we now know to be bar members and agents to compile all the information from the territories that he conquered. All right, and then compiled those and translated those into their language because they would conquer nations that didn't I don't know what they say, spoke Roman. And so they translated all of those laws from the different nations and then they compiled in a way that they translated and compiled them in a way that benefited a Roman dictator. So they were so in our world we would say, oh well, they removed all the due process stuff out of it that would benefit people, and they would They left in the things that favored government power and government control. That's why we're supposed to be actively against the Roman law, right, or the civil law, right? So they call this thing Roman law. If you want to learn the Roman law for Louisiana or anybody, this is part of the law too. It's called the Corpus Juris Civilis. All right. Now I forgot how they got it. So they got it in 4 volumes as well. Each of the 4 volumes of the digest of Justinian is they'll have a bunch. These books are huge. So the digest of Justinian is like say it'll be a book 1 through 50. And then in one of those books, there'll be 19, 20, 30 citations in there of what they call Roman maxims. And they've been translated. I have the English versions of them on Patreon. You can download them. I have the English translations of these things. Um, but they have uh, Roman maxims that were in Latin, then they've been translated to English. Right, so they'll have book one, chapter three, section 17, and then that will be a citation of whatever that thing is saying. So as it applies to Louisiana, you would want those, and then you would compare it to um, Code of Louisiana. That's what they call the law in Louisiana, right? So our law in the other states are the common law of England. We will primarily find those in Supreme Court cases, but in Louisiana, you're not primarily going to find those there. You're primarily going to find Louisiana law in the Louisiana Code. Napoleonic law is the Roman law. Napoleon was French. French has always been under Roman control. The Napoleonic Code is the Roman code. It was just translated into French because they were French, and that's where Louisiana came from. But that's Napoleonic law is Roman law. And so you want to know the Roman principles, then I have the digest because all the emperors that came after him would just be applying these principles. Right? So, like the same way we go to Edward Cook's Institutes on the Laws of England, okay, well, all the Romanist attorneys they go to uh, Justinian Code, right? So when they create the United States Code or your state codes, well, they mirror them off of how the Roman Code is. They're the same thing. All right, now somebody said, "What about Kentucky?" So this is next. So state Supreme Court cases. You want to learn your state law? State Supreme Court cases. How do you find state Supreme Court cases? Good luck. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Is try to find state Supreme Court cases. But I will teach you how to find the citations. Now, I will say this. Um, there used to be a website. Now, my research has gotten harder because this website no longer exists. There used to be a website called Case Text. Case Text, you could literally just go to the website and just search cases. You could find, I want to learn Kentucky. You could literally just click Kentucky, search some phrases related to some certain topics, and boom, they would give you a list of cases that had those phrases, and you could read those cases, and they would give you the citation, and that was the only free, searchable, reliable, searchable case law website to search for cases. And I believe it was last year or the year before last, Westlaw bought that website and then decommissioned it. So now if you want to search for cases without having to buy all these law books, okay, well, it costs like 400 bucks, 300. Uh, I think it was 300 if you wanted all the 50 states and federal. And so I used to have to pay I didn't pay it long, but I had to pay like 300 bucks a month to try to find cases. Okay, but you don't have to do that. Well, it's not always easy, but as far as just reading cases, here's how you read cases, okay? I find cases, so now I can't go searching for cases without paying for them. Now I have to know what case I'm looking for, and that becomes harder, okay? So, um, there's 2 things I'm gonna tell you to do, and not every state has this access. The first thing, every state does have this access, but it sucks. So here's the thing that sucks. Okay, where I find cases, it's from Court Listener. I type Court Listener in the chat, courtlistener.com. Anybody who's on Patreon, you'll see if you wanna see that case that I just cited, it's got a Court Listener link right under it, right? Okay, you can't search for cases in Court Listener. You have to know what case you are looking for and find the case on Court Listener. It does not have search abilities. You can't pay for search on Court Listener. All right. So what you have to do is you have to know case citations. This is very important because half of what I see on the internet is people citing bad cases. And then from the attorney side of it, they don't give you the case that would make it easier to find. Okay. So this is how you cite a Supreme Court case, federal or state. Okay. You start with the volume number. Volume number. So you'll see a case. Let me see. Um, mm, let me find this case real quick. Uh, Boom. Okay. So you got Parsons, Bedford, Breedlove, and Robeson. This case came out in 1830. All right. This is a United States case. Now, I'm not going to know that entire case number or that entire case name. The case name is irrelevant. The case name is irrelevant. I don't care about the case name. Case name is irrelevant. What I want to know, as far as it relates to Supreme Court cases, is what is the volume number and the page number, because that volume is an actual book of Supreme Court cases. So, for instance, this is the federal Supreme Court, right? So, if I wanted to find this case, then I would need to find volume 28 of the United States Supreme Court report, and you can find those on Google. And then the page number would be after the US. So it'll say 28 US 433, and then it'll have a year, right? Okay. Well, how do I find that case? Because I be seeing these people, and I be seeing some of y'all be posting cases, and them don't be the right citation, and then you find the citation, and it don't say what that case said is, what y'all say that case say. And this is incredibly important. Because when you try to argue that the Supreme Court said, and then they go look up them cases, and I don't know if y'all seen these people got computers now. These judges and these magistrates, they got the computer right there. What's the case number? No, that ain't on here. Oh, nope. And they'll throw your whole argument away. They don't want to hear it. You giving them bad citations, they don't want to hear that. All right. So volume number, page number. Volume number, page number, and in between the volume number and the page number is the jurisdiction. So if it's New Mexico, you'll see a N.M. If it's Michigan, you'll see a MICH. If it's a Florida Supreme Court case, it'll be FLA. If it's Kentucky, it'll be volume 28, page 433, and then there'll be a KY in the middle. Right? If it's a Tennessee, it'll have a 10 in the middle. right? It'll be your state's actual abbreviation. Not always, but if you're from New York, it'll be a NY in the volume number, page number. Volume number, page number, volume number, page number. And you can verify the case. When I first started seeing cases, I didn't know what that meant. I don't know what that means. How do you implement the cases? You read them. You read them. You read the case. The case explains a concept of the law. You read it. You read the whole page. You read the whole book. You implement it by digesting the info. In court, you're not supposed to be in court. I'm not helping nobody in court. You're not supposed to be in court. See, it's their thing again. How if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You're not supposed to be in court. Who are the judges? Who are the judges in court? Who, okay, you explain this to you're not supposed I'm not talking to people who trying to be in court all the time. I'm talking to people who want to know the law. So you learn the law, and then you explain it to the judges who are the jury, not the guys in the back row. If you have to because you're in a circumstance where you are subjected by the courts, then you can use these in pleading to explain a concept of the law that that magistrate already know, but he don't care nothing about. So, uh, you implement it by reading it. You have to know it. So whenever you see some scammer or anybody saying they're citing a case and, "Oh, well, they said it," okay, well, you gotta be able to find that case, and you gotta be able to verify. Half of this stuff is just verifying that it said what it said. Like people say, "Oh, the Black's Law Dictionary don't mean nothing." If you can't know where they got that from, 'cause those aren't those people didn't know those words. They had to find it. I say it all the time, you start studying law, you're gonna end up at the Bible. That's where you can end up in an atheistic law school, and they're gonna teach you about Solomon and the Phoenicians. Like, really, I thought this stuff was fake. Oh, they lied. Yep. Why are y'all talking about Solomon in law books? What do you mean the Phoenicians were the carrier for the wise Solomon? What do you mean? I thought Solomon wasn't real to you atheists. They know this stuff is true. They just lie to our face every day. No, that's not why. Uh, but the Supreme Court cases, how do you find them? Start with volume 1. Volume 1, Kentucky Supreme Court reports. You may not find these are not easy. I'm just telling you, if you can go to a law library in your state, you can start reading those books. Excuse me. Some of them have, you can download the PDFs. You can download the PDFs, and then you can search 'em. I think I found Florida's, I think I found Colorado's, I think I found Georgia's, I think. I've been finding volume 1, I found Tennessee's. Okay, and you know what I do when I found the download of them? Okay, well, I search. I wanna search common law, I wanna search Magna Carta, I wanna search law of the land, I wanna search, sovereignty. I'm looking up all these phrases, then Imma read that case and see what it's talking about. Sometimes it ain't got what you're looking for, sometimes it got everything you're looking for, right? So volume 1, volume number, page number, volume number, page number, volume number, page number, page number. That's how you read and find a case. That's case law. Case law, half of case law is citation. How do you find it? Read it. What'd it say? They say these judges be telling you, well, what's the case about? You ain't read it. You don't know what it's talking about. And so that stuff is very important. So state Supreme Court cases is where you'll find the law, is where you find the explanation of what you really should be looking for. rights inside of those Supreme Court cases. You would search the phrase unconstitutional. Okay, they gonna tell you what's unconstitutional. You're gonna see law of the land. Okay, they're gonna tell you what's the law of the land, what's not law of the land. That's where you're gonna find all these Edward Cook, James Kent. You're gonna find all the they're gonna keep talking about those guys, all these cases. All right. Well, volume one would be the very first Supreme Court report of your state. If you got to go to a law library to find them, then do that. Or if you can find them on the internet, then do that. Obviously, that would be easier. But good luck. These things aren't easy. So on Court Listener, you can do that. Now, Court Listener is not amazing all the time, uh, but you could find volume one on Court Listener of the Kentucky Supreme Court reports, but they it's two things that's wrong with that. They scan those pages and they don't verify that they've been scanned properly, and so or they redact stuff on those pages and they don't include them on the website. So it's stuff that are in the actual Kentucky, just as an example, Kentucky Supreme Court reports that are not on Court Listener. All right, so it'll say you'll see somewhere that a case said something, and then you'll go to Court Listener, and it won't have none of them words on there. Like, something ain't right. And then some of the cases, they'll let you download the PDF, and then you read the PDF, and it's black all over it. They ain't got nothing to say on there because they don't redact so much information because they don't want you seeing what the Supreme Court cases. Yep. So this is very important. So if you can go to your nearest law library and find volume whatever of your state Supreme Court reports, and just once a month, take a day, see what you can find in there. That would be optimal. Now, next is again, I already said this. It's very hard. Is trying to find books exclusive to your state. So if you want to try to find if they got the Kentucky Common Law book on a particular subject, Kentucky Trial by Jury, good luck. But those things are very hard to find. But you can try to find commentaries on a specific law topic, and that would be potentially helpful because in those commentaries, just like in these commentaries I've listed, they're going to cite where they get that information. That makes sense. So you're just doing verifying after verifying after verifying. You're just saying that it says, are the reports done by the year? Not always. It depends. Sometimes they cover a couple years to kind of consolidate space. Some states they didn't have a lot of cases that year. Some they may have had a lot. So they just included a lot of years. So I would try to find out when the first year of the Supreme Court got set up in your state, and then try to go through there. But on Court Listener, you can find they'll tell you the year. So again, you can find volume one of the Florida Supreme Court reports on Court Listener. You just have to read through all those cases. You can't search them. You have to actually read, and um, and they'll tell you what year for each case. They got them. Now, when I say they got them, they may not have every single case, but they acknowledge that a volume one of the Florida Supreme Court reports exist, and they may have or they may not have all those cases. You have to try to find those actual books. Virginia is a great example of this. Okay, let me go to Virginia just to prove this to you. Because there's cases that are not on Court Listener or on anywhere on the internet. Here's Virginia. All right, Virginia's got two cases that I know are nowhere. There's in the law dictionary, you look up the phrase posse comitatus, and one is let me see. Well, no, Virginia has two. Okay. Virginia has a case that does not exist. and it explains that people who go to prison are slaves of the state, and that's the only case that I found that explains that, and Virginia has that case. It's a notable case, I see it flying around a lot, but you can't find that phrase inside of the case. If you find that case on the internet, it does not have that phrase. You have to find the actual law book or the Virginia Supreme Court report that has that in there. And then I found that book and it says what it says in the actual report. It don't say that on the internet where you can find it. You know what I mean? And then there's another one on due process about property taxes. They don't have that case on the uh, when I say on the internet, I mean on a case looking website, a case finding website. And then there's one in Pennsylvania where they talk about the Posse Comitatus Act, that the sheriff has the power to summon the people of the county to fight an insurrection or whatever. Okay, let me go to that case is not on the internet. You have to find that actual book. Yep, the sheriff. So in all the law dictionaries, they cite this case on the Posse Comitatus. You cannot find that case. They don't want you to find it. And so I found it. Yeah, I put it on Patreon and I said, cannot find this case on a court website. I found it. It explains the power of the sheriff and all that it entails, right? And so, uh, gotta give that. So understand this stuff and finding your state supreme courts, you're gonna be better off going to your state library, your nearest law library. Now, and what I'm about to go over now are law encyclopedias. Every state has this, but it's um, oh, no, no, no. Let me see, let me see, let me see. Where's that? State encyclopedias, homework. State law encyclopedias. Okay. So this is easier for people who have state law encyclopedias. It's not easy for people who have state law encyclopedias. Okay. So I say here, if you live or were born in these states, you need to be well acquainted with these encyclopedias. I said we cannot afford these books. For example, I say the Florida Jurisprudence Law Series or Law Encyclopedia is 60 grand for the complete series. All right. So I said you might find some older volumes on eBay from a retired attorney or a retired judge. So they said that you typically, I said that. All right. So these are the states with law encyclopedias. California, Jurisprudence is the name of the encyclopedia. Colorado Law Annotated is the name of the encyclopedia. Florida Jurisprudence is the name of the encyclopedia. Georgia Jurisprudence is the name of the encyclopedia. And Georgia has an older one called Encyclopedia of Georgia Laws. I can't find it anywhere. Um, in a Georgia law library. All right. Illinois is called Illinois. Indiana has an Indiana law encyclopedia. Uh, Louisiana is the Louisiana Civil Law. I actually found those the other day. Um, Gosh. And Maryland has one called the Maryland Law Encyclopedia. It is the Michigan Law and Practice Encyclopedia. Mississippi is called the Encyclopedia of Mississippi Law. New Hampshire Practice, New Jersey Practice, the New York Jurisprudence. They have a thing called the North Carolina Index. They have the Ohio Jurisprudence. They have the Pennsylvania Law Encyclopedia. The South Carolina jurisprudence. They have the Tennessee jurisprudence. They have the Texas jurisprudence, and they have the Virginia jurisprudence and West Virginia jurisprudence. Okay, those are law encyclopedias. The benefit to law encyclopedias is that they are categorized. You want to look for a topic and see what they got to say about it. Okay, the same way those law dictionaries are going to give you some court cases as their citation on where they get that definition from, the same way with these law encyclopedias. Have an explanation of the topic, but they're every sentence, almost every sentence is going to have state Supreme Court case they get their information from, or a law book too. It just depends on the topic. So if you want to know about the first thing you should do is go look up the Constitution. They'll have the letter C. So an encyclopedia will be volume 1 through 30. I don't know. And volume 1 will be the letter A, okay, and volume 2 or 3 will be C through D, and then E through F, you know what I mean? So it'll be number correlating with the alphabet. So volume 1 will be whatever the topic of law in the letter A is, right? So the first thing you should find is they don't have a topic on the common law of England, then you're gonna go to the topic of the Constitution of the state. So you'll go to New York Constitution or New York or just Constitution, you will read what they have to say on the New York Constitution and you're gonna copy all those cases. And then when you get back to the house, you can verify those cases on case lists or court lists. Does that make sense? So these encyclopedias knock out half the work of trying to find a specific subject. They've already done the work. That's why they're so expensive. Like the Florida jurisprudence is 60 grand if you want brand new copies of all the volume. What is biographical encyclopedia of the Commonwealth of I have no idea, bro. I did not live in Kentucky. I'm sorry. But they don't say that Kentucky has a legal encyclopedia. That like I don't know. You would have to see what the description of it is. Uh, or just try to find Kentucky law books. eBay is a good place. Some attorneys retiring and he's getting rid of all the books, chill on the beachfront. Okay, so but this is just some stuff, just a mindset to have when you're researching how to find information, right? So you can't find everything on Google. I hope you know that by now. They're not gonna tell you nothing. They're gonna lie straight to your face. And these attorneys have created enough blogs on different subjects that that's the first thing that pulls up. So when you search a topic, that's not you're not finding the topic there. So if you wanna get past the fluff or the lie, you either go straight to a law dictionary or if your state has an encyclopedia, go to the encyclopedia. Also, they have, also in these law dictionaries, every state is in there. Every state. Now, depending on the year of those law dictionaries, they may have, if your state was a territory, they'll include it as a territory, so you would go to a land dictionary and it'll go over your constitution and all the powers of your state. If you live in Florida, try to look up Florida in a law dictionary. It'll have a bunch of stuff on. What else? Case law. Yeah, that's it. That's really it. The state is where they make rules as they go. That's why you got to read the Kentucky Constitution. So you got to the first things first. You need to read your state's constitution. Every version of your state's constitution, because that's not your state that's talking. Your state already talked. You did it once through the original state constitution. Here's what you need to look up. You need to look up the Kentucky Resolve. That's a conversation between Kentucky and Thomas Jefferson. I believe Thomas Jefferson was the president at the time. So yeah, look up the Kentucky Resolves. You need to find those books. You need to buy those books, and you need to find that. And you need to be able to quote it with your eyes closed. The Kentucky Resolves. Um, yeah, that's it. That's really what I got. Any questions? And this Patreon, I'm not lying to y'all, is a great resource. Every time I find a case related to a state or related to a constitutional topic, then I compile that information and I put it on there. And you have the link. So that people think these cases, I put them on there that they're easy to find. No, sometimes it takes me all day to find a case. Any books on Ohio? Here's what I have. I forgot I was gonna comment on all state constitutions. All I have 47 states. I don't have Missouri. I don't have Pennsylvania, and I don't have I forgot what I have it on. Pennsylvania, Missouri, and Oregon. They did not make them. Um, Oxford University, whoever they Oxford University is like, but whoever they were in America created commentaries on all the state constitutions, and I have them all. I paid $100 for almost each of them. So if it's 47 states, how much did I pay for all of those commentaries? So yes, I do have law books on Ohio. I have the Ohio State Constitution commentary. What year did that come out? Ohio. Yep. Ohio State Constitution commentary. Yep. 450 pages. Common law is mentioned over 26 times in the Ohio Constitution commentary. Ohio Bill of Rights. See, they say that common law, the traffic in intoxicating liquors was lawful business. Ohio Supreme Court case about the issue. All available on Patreon. Absolutely. So if you live in Florida, so I got a commentary on the Florida Constitution. Then I got some of them they came out with multiple years. Where's Florida at? No, I only got one. It came out in 2017. And then I got a couple law books on Florida. Somebody asked me for them, and I found them. So let's see. Yeah, Florida Library. Let's see what we got. I got the history of Florida. I got habeas corpus in Florida. I got the Florida jurisprudence. All 10 constitutional law. It's an old version, which is the older the better. And then I got Florida jurisprudence on the common law, 3 pages, but it addressed more issues than that book contains the volume on constitutional law and common law. And then I got one on habeas corpus. And then I got one on the history of Florida. So I bought those books, had them digitized, and then somebody was looking for something in Tennessee. I found some books for them in Tennessee. Tennessee library. Let's see. Tennessee law books. The land laws of Tennessee. They got this whole is whole thing about the history of Tennessee. And they got like 9 volumes. I couldn't find one volume. They got all types of stuff. The Tennessee. Patreon, the link to it is at the top of my TikTok page. So you go to my TikTok page, it should be the only link. What else? Oh, I also have like a regular library. I got a bunch of stuff. I keep forgetting I got all this stuff. I got so many books on here. I got books on the common law, federal courts, grand jury, common law court handbook, uh, Second Amendment, Second Amendment. I got all type of books. I got the Erwin Rommel School of Law. I got a Criminal Defendant's Bible. I forgot I got these books. I don't know if I can say that word, but I got all type of defendants handbooks, lawsuits. You want to learn how to do a lawsuit? I got a book called Beating Up on Debt Collectors. I forgot I had that book. Something about loans. I got books nobody got, y'all. You would not believe. You might not know those books too, but yeah, I got a lot of books. That lawsuit book, uh, the Criminal Defendant's Bible. Yeah, that's a good book. I'm gonna try to reproduce that. That dude passed away. So I'm gonna try to I'll try to reproduce that book one day. Let's see. I got a bunch of stuff. That's one. I forgot I got these books. Yeah, you need down. That's why I say you gotta have a flash drive. You need Google Docs. Yeah, it is all on Patreon. Most of what I read y'all is on Patreon. I got land patent books. I forgot about that. No, I didn't forget about that, but I forgot to mention it. I got how many books? One, two, three, four, five, six law books on land patents and land laws. And y'all ever heard of Ron Gibson, the land patent guy? Well, that dude passed away last summer, in July. And I didn't know this. Everybody has his land patent book, but he came out with 2 books on land. And thankful to God, I ordered them. I guess before he passed away, because I didn't know those books existed. So I'm the only dude, and this isn't about me. I'm just saying, I'm the only dude that's got a searchable version of his land patents books, and he has another book called "You Are Not a Slave" by Ron Gibson. Uh, and then and then I got other books on land patents and land law. I got all this stuff. I got books on admiralty. I got books on common law. Let's see. I told you I'm the only one that's got a book on bill of particulars outside of an attorney. Uh, got a book on sheriffs. Got a book on the trial by jury, the petite jury, false arrest and imprisonment. forgot I got this. I got a self-study course on common law and statutory law, court access, how to navigate the courts. I got some encyclopedias, Corpus Juris Secundum, the law and practice on the Bill of Particulars. I'm the only one that's got that book. I'm the only one that's got that book digitized. Somebody's probably got that book, but yeah, all that stuff you can be download. You can be in them books. Every time you sit on the toilet, just get a reading. And I paid lots of money for these books, y'all. And to have them digitized cost even more. It's very expensive to have a book digitized, especially a law book. A law book ain't 40 pages. You know what I mean? A law book, thousands, hundreds of pages, hundreds of pages. Let's see. Let's see. I got more books on grand juries and then all throughout the states. So California would be a great example. Um, where's California? I got books on the Magna Carta. I forgot about that. So many books, y'all. Books on passports, all this stuff. I got it. Um, what was I going? California, California. California's got like I found some California jurisprudence books, so I found them. I put them on there because they got one about criminal law. They got one on equity. They got one on all this stuff. On all these topics. They got one on understanding the California Constitution. Very important stuff. All right, I'm gonna turn this off on my camera. But yeah, this stuff is all important. You could just be compiling, take one day a week and just, all right, I live I don't know how much I'll get paid, but you would take one at whatever state and just open a Google Doc and compile this information. If there's a book, download the book. Then as you find stuff that relates to you or stuff that you may need to know in the future, okay, you'll create a Google Doc, take it down to FedEx one day, and they'll be able to create a book out of it for you for like 15 bucks. Stuff is important. What was the book? Yep, that's it. So, yep. Any question? Poor YouTube. They don't even play my audio no more on YouTube, boy. Or maybe they're not even showing my stuff. No, they showing it. They showing it. It's water. Water, water. Liquid death is water. Plain water you can. And then you'll end up with tons of books like this one day. All type of information that they say don't exist no more. All right. We'll try it again tomorrow.